Fears of a post-Thanksgiving surge of respiratory illnesses are becoming a reality. Hospitals across the country are seeing a rising number of cases of the flu, RSV, and COVID-19. CBS's Carter Evans is in Los Angeles, where doctors' offices are being overwhelmed.
Lift up your tongue.
Family medicine doctor Douglas Chiriboga is warning patients of a triple viral threat.
The ER is inundated with cases, and people are being hospitalized.
RSV may be peaking, but it's the worst flu season in more than a decade, leading to a shortage of children's cold and flu medicine, all as COVID cases are rising. In Los Angeles County, cases have soared 75% in just the last week, close to triggering restrictions again.
Should there be another mandate in LA County?
I think there should be, and I think eventually we're going to have that mask mandate.
Regardless of whether it's a guideline or a rule or not, would masking up be a good idea if you're in a crowded environment?
Look, it's sort of common sense. If it is pouring outdoors, bring an umbrella or galoshes. Similarly, if there's a lot of COVID transmission in your community, it certainly would make common sense to wear a mask.
So far, less than 13% of Americans
common sense.
Updated boosters.
Common sense.
Diagnosis, according to Dr. Chiriboga.
It tells me that people are not getting the message.
That's especially
true
for
they're just not getting the message.
Those 65 and older, only 1 in 3 seniors have received the updated shot. And with holiday gatherings fast approaching,
don't wait. The time is now to get vaccinated. Get your influenza vaccine, get your COVID-19 booster. And it's something you're doing it to protect not only yourself, but your loved ones, your grandmother, your father and mother. Just do it for them also.
Yeah. It's not just for you, you selfish being. It's also for your family. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Be afraid. Don't you see that we're telling you to be afraid? Be afraid. Why aren't you getting the message? Why aren't you getting the message? You're going to die. You're going to die. Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Palgawan. Today is December 8th, 2022, a Thursday, which, as you know, Thursdays on Palgawan are Truth Hurts days. The Truth Hurts days, where we say some things that might be hard to hear, but are things that we all need to hear sometimes. You're gonna die, which is true. But that's not such a bad thing. Death, as we know, is just as natural as birth. You're gonna die. You're gonna die, but that's also what makes life so beautiful. That's also what gives life a sense of urgency, a sense of purpose. That's what gives life a sense of direction. That's what gives us a sense of direction. You will die. You're gonna die. Eventually, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you are going to die. If there's anything certain about your life, it is that you are going to die. Now, does that mean we're going to spiral into depression? Or is that possibly the motivation we need to work with more urgency and more purpose in our lives? The fact that we have a finite time span, is that going to fill us with depression? Or is that going to give us more of a purpose in life? Is that going to allow us to let go of what we cannot control in life and spend more time inching our way towards more peace in life? You're going to die. The world is trying to scare you right now, as if death is this preventable thing. But guess what? It is the Truth Hurts Day here on Palgawan, and the truth hurts sometimes. On the way to more satisfying and long-lasting peace. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back to the Best Feeling Podcast, the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast, with your host, Herbie, and this is Palgawan. We'll be talking about how you're going to die, but why this means life is beautiful, why this means that you are going to push towards some greatness in your life, why this means that life itself is more precious than ever. Why? Not because you're going to live forever and we should spend our times grasping for straws and just making sure that we all just breathe a little bit longer, or that we all just last a little bit longer, like we're all some potatoes in a science experiment, just trying to make our lives as long as possible. But rather, to refer back to a cliche that we all know and love, it is not about the amount of breaths that you take, but rather the moments that take your breath away. Life is more than about just longevity. Life is about more than just lasting as long as you can. In fact, life is what it is because it is finite. Life is beautiful in the way that it is. Why? Because it is finite. Life is beautiful in the way that it is because you're gonna die. We'll be right back after this short break to unwrap this a little bit more. Thank you for joining us. If you like what you hear, if you are intrigued, knowing that this podcast, of course, is not for everyone, but for those who are seeking, for those who are looking for something more, having this intuitive idea in their soul that there must be more to life than we are experiencing these last, especially as being reminded to us in these last few years in the way that they've been reacting to this virus. Stick around. Stay tuned. If you find this interesting, drop a like. Let us know how you feel in the comments. Subscribe to get more truths that hurt. As we are not here to simply just agree with you, but to talk about some truths in life and to discuss and fellowship together and discover what this thing is all about. You're gonna die. We'll be right back after this short break. In case you didn't know, in case you forgot and your life felt slow and stagnant, remember, you're gonna die. We'll be right back after this short break. Good morning and welcome back to the Best Feeling Podcast and the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast with Herbie. This is Pal Go On. We're going to be talking about some truths that might hurt today, but are we going to just leave you hanging high and dry, or shall we perhaps remember that we're going to be stretching our self-awareness like a muscle today, remembering to always stay present in that moment where you are in that beautiful godlike experience that you are experiencing right now with this green screen behind you going crazy. We're remembering to stay present wherever you are. We know that you are invested in whatever you are doing, whether you are studying, whether you are working, whether you're relaxing. Whether you are invested in this podcast, we know that you are invested into whatever you're doing at the time. So please allow us to blend into the symphony of the sounds around you, always remaining to stay present and picking out whatever means something to you. Are we remembering to feel the fronts of our shins in order to allow our body to balance more correctly towards its proper design today? Of course, the weight of your body wants to be delivered into the front of your shins and not the back of your beautiful fleshy calves. Your calves are beautiful, fleshy, large, and muscular, but not intended to carry the weight of your body, though we might be convinced of doing so by the way that we view people from the outside, or the way fashion, the way we put on shoes and pants and stuff. Look at ourselves in a mirror. Sometimes it might make us think that our feet are like L's, so that we want to balance on the back portion of the calves. But we all know that's not true, as you see on the pictures that float by during the breaks. Today, we talk about how you're going to die. The whole world is going to try to... Is the whole world right now? I mean, I think we're all overwhelmed by it. It's just, at this point, we've kind of just tuned it out. A lot of us have just tuned it out of just noticing that the world right now is trying to strike you with fear, trying to instill fear in you. They're not just gaining money off of it, right? Like, they get huge ratings off of fear because people want to look. They want to be like, oh, if something bad out there is happening, I better be tuned in. I got to know what's happening around me so I can protect myself. And rightly you should. But are we spending too much time worrying about what we can't control or not? We're looking outward at the world like, oh my gosh, I gotta save that. We gotta save this. We gotta feel guilty for this, so that we gotta donate to those people. We gotta feel guilty for this, so we gotta put on these masks, blah, blah, blah. All these things. Boom. All lies. The truth that is right here in front of you is that you're gonna die. Does that mean that we're going to spiral into depression and spend all of our days barricading ourselves into our houses and barricading ourselves from other people, our loved ones, from our grandmothers, from our grandfathers who spent time in the hospital or perhaps passed away without seeing their loved ones because we found out that it was what's the word they call it? What do they call it? They're talking about non-essential. They're saying, don't go to work these last couple years because it's non-essential. Don't go to school, it's non-essential. Only do the things that are essential because there is doom looming outside of your door at every corner you pass by. It is non-essential, they told us. It is non-essential to go see your family in their dying breaths. It is non-essential to go to school. It is non-essential to go to work. It is non-essential to see your family and friends, and loved ones. Guess what? That means that your purpose in life has become deemed non-essential. Why? Because you're afraid now. You're afraid of this thing that's going to kill you. Guess what? You're going to die. It doesn't mean that you're going to die from this virus necessarily, but you're going to die. They strike you with all this fear, and all this fear sticks with you because they instill with you this idea that the most important thing in life is to avoid death. But guess what? You're gonna die. And of course we want to live long and fulfilling and meaningful lives, but you're gonna die. Of course you want to live purposeful lives. Of course you want to experience the pleasures of life. But has it ever been more so obvious that there's a pandemic of self-satisfaction when we have hookup culture, drug addiction? Eventually, all this leads to a suicide rise, which is higher in the world than it's ever been in history. Why? Because life is not just about seeking pleasures. If anything, we're seeking pleasures harder and stronger than ever before. We're seeking deeper and more shallow. Well, that sounds like it's opposite, but like we're seeking more depraved and shallow pleasures. Why? Because we've been more stricken with fear than ever that, whoa, my God, we're going to die. But the truth is you're going to die. Is it like, I'm going to die? Or is it more like, I'm going to die one day? And of course, you're going to try to increase the lifespan that you have. Of course, you're going to try to do things that are meaningful to you, but we got to balance that with the fact that we are going to die. And what is the purpose of life? Not just to increase its length, of course. Of course, the purpose of life is not to just make it as long as it can last, but rather experiencing meaningful experiences in life and providing for ourselves and the world a good. But guess what? The good for the world is going to be the best for you. Does that mean that you're going to like go out there and like donate to every person who asks for a little bit of money, donate to every cause that claims that they're going to help something? Does that mean that you're going to spend all your money on trying to preserve this moment of your life? Of course not. Of course not. What it means is that if you want the best for the world, you got to look out for the best for you. Why? You're only in control of your own life. That's why. You're not responsible for anyone else's emotions, only your own. Only your own. Even on this podcast, my job here is not to simply agree with you. You can find plenty of circles on the internet that will just simply agree with you. But my job is to tell the truth from how I see it. As everyone's job is to tell the truth from how they see it, to handle their own emotions and to live their life the way that they see it for themselves. And when you are living your best life, you happen to resonate out to the outside world, better things for better people, for better things for other people. And you cannot do that if you yourself are not under your own control. You're gonna die. Kind of a scary thought, of course. No one likes the idea of death, but it is the only thing that is certain in your life that will happen, and it is just as natural as birth itself. Should you go out and waste your life now because you know you're going to die? Should you go out and drink all the drinks, drug all the drugs, sex all the sex? Is that what that means when we hear you're gonna die? Or are we all constantly living under this understanding already? Is that not why we seek the pleasures that we do? Is that not why we basically do anything that we do? Why would you do anything if you knew that you're going to live forever? No, we have a finite time, which means that there are things that are valuable to us. Why? They're valuable to us because time is short. Other things are more valuable than other things because time is short. You hear a lot these days of like, oh, people should not be participating in this sex ritual. People should not be participating in hookup culture. People should not be participating in being greedy. And people should not be participating in violence. Why should they not do any of that stuff? We have like a international conversation, actually. An international conversation right now where everyone is just questioning why we do anything. And so, of course, why do you think that there's like the highest amount of fatherless homes right now? Why do you think that there's like the highest amount of drug abuse right now, alcohol abuse? Why do you think that there's the most like suicide rate ever in the world right now? Because in this world where we know that we're going to die, we're going to seek pleasures so that we can distract ourselves from the fact that we're going to die. It's like, oh, if we're going to experience the ultimate fate one day, well, I just want to have all the pleasure that I can. And then as soon as that hits a brick wall, as it eventually will, of course, we're just like, okay, I mean, there's nothing else for me to experience. I'm too old to go out and party like I used to. I'm too old to participate in the hookup culture the way that I wanted to. I'm too old to make a business for myself. At least that's how people are thinking right now. I'm gonna just off myself. And that's the tragic event that we're in right now. It's like this whole world and this whole culture we're just living in a culture right now where it's like everybody was trying to avoid even the mentioning of death. We're in such a death-fearing culture that people don't even want to mention. When in fact, the fact that you're going to die is one of the main motivating factors to do anything good in life at all. Why should you not spend your time dealing drugs? Why should you not spend your time harassing others just because you're angry? Why should you not spend your time masturbating or idolizing sex? Why should you not spend your time just eating candy all day and sitting around? Why should you not spend your time just being lazy? Why? Because time is finite. And when time is short, when life is finite, when life has an inevitable end, there are certain things that you're going to put value on. What do we mean by value? Well, of course, as in certain things are going to provide more good for what you believe you want in life, and other things are not going to. And so when we live in a world that's so death-fearing that we don't even want to talk about the idea of death, no one even wants to mention, like you say you're going to die, people, how dare you? How dare you mention the penultimate truth about human beings? How dare you mention such a commonplace reality of human beings? How dare you? How dare you ruin my mood by the idea of death? When death is one of the only biggest truths that we have at our disposal. And we all know that without truth, there's no love. Without truth, there is no love. Yeah, without truth, you might be able to experience momentary pleasures and all that kind of stuff. But without truth, there's no long-lasting pleasures. Without truth, there's nothing that is solid. There's nothing that's at balance for it to last long enough to create more happiness. Like a wheel needs balance to continue rolling forward. Our lives are the same way. We need balance so that we can continue rolling forward. It's not that without truth, you're not going to have any kind of pleasure at all. Of course, even by lying, you can find yourself in places where you'll have physical pleasures. But with truth, you create a circumstance, you create a foundation in which you will have repeated pleasures, you will have repeated happiness, repeated peace throughout life over and over, and will come back to you over and over with truth. Although truth is scary because it's going to limit you a lot of the times from the immediate pleasures that you might find yourself having easier access to by lying. But truth creates a foundation in which physical pleasures and emotional, spiritual pleasures and support and confidence in yourself will arise from for the long term in a way that you can't even imagine yet. Of course, with lying, we can take shortcuts and we can find ourselves in moments of like we can force pleasure on ourselves, or we can set ourselves a foundation in which happiness, peace, and pleasure come to you naturally with a lot less effort and with a lot less damage to your bank account. You might be like, well, I can make heck of money. I can make heck of money with doing dishonest things, right? But for how long? And then what happens when you get caught? What happens when the truths come to surface and your quote unquote success was built off of lies? What happens then? We're sitting here like, you're gonna die. Is that a scary thought? Possibly. But is it also a truism? Of course. Also a truism that causes you to think about what you value. Why would you value one thing over another? Because you're gonna die. Why would you value participating in something that seems hard right now, although it's going to bring you riches later, like getting a college degree or pursuing a career or finding out how you can be best of service with the talents that you have to the community around you, to your family, to your friends? Why would you value any of those, which takes hardship, over this idea of just going home, masturbating and eating candy all day, which will have you for momentary pleasure for for however long you can go. And then, because you haven't been providing or integrating a service into society, you run out of money. Now what are you doing? Have no way to pay your bills, have no way to get more candy, and then your internet bill runs up. You can't pay the internet bill. Good luck feeling yourself then. There's a chain reaction that happens in life. And so we place our value on certain things so that this chain reaction happens in a positive way for you. What might you value? Well, you might value truth above all. Why do we value truth above all? Well, if you listen to these boneheads on the news right now, and of course all humans are equal, but the paths that they are choosing are often boneheaded. So if you listen to these boneheaded ideas on the news right now, they would tell you to value fear of all. They would tell you to value the fear of death above all things. But why would you value that? Does your fear give you money? Does your fear increase your peace? Does your fear ensure that you're going to have a proper health care? Does your fear ensure that your family, friends, and loved ones are going to continue to support you? Or should we value hard work, truth, and honesty, all of which might be physically unpleasurable at the time, but do the exact opposite, which is gravitate good fortune to you, gravitate support and kindness from others, gravitate even financial support from the world? How? By being afraid of everything? The way that the news is trying to get you to value fear of death overall? Or valuing ourselves, valuing truth and honesty, and valuing hard work above all, so that we can suffer, which you will suffer no matter what, but you will suffer in such a way that will provide a pathway towards kindness being gravitated towards you at all times. Not just from other people, but from yourself and the world itself. We have a lot of talk about values right now in the culture, right? In the world, people talk about like, we should value this, value that, value diversity. But no one's really talking about what the heck a value is. What is a value? Of course, it's where you place your time and it's what you invest in. But why should certain things be of value and others are not of value? Well, the things of value will create valuable things to you. And what are valuable things to you in your relationship with life? The fact that you are going to die. What is valuable towards that? What will consistently bring value to your life, as in something that you actually care about, something that is good for you and you can understand it to be good for you? What are those things? Right now we value escapes, right? We value drug abuse. We value loose sex. We value escapes from this idea that we can't do anything in life, escapes from our insecurities, escapes from the fear of death, escapes from the fear of never being able to live up to your parents' expectations or whatever it is. We have all these fears, and if anything, this world right now, we value fear. We're just like, be afraid. Be afraid. Don't use common sense. Be afraid. Be afraid so that you can run our news station's profits up, so that you have to constantly be watching because you're so afraid that if you take your eyes off, you're going to miss some tragedy that's going to kill you. They're abusing your fear of death, but your fear of death does not need to be so strong. It doesn't need to be so debilitating. You're gonna die. Everybody will. But two sides of the same coin. Does that mean we're going to coil up into the fetal position and just try to increase the longevity of our life, no matter what it might mean for the dignity of our lives? As in the seriousness of what we want to provide to the world and what we want to do for our lives? Are we going to let this idea of death cripple us into abandoning all hope and dignity in our own lives? Like, the length of your life is more important than any of the good that you want to provide, any of the experiences that you want to experience, any of the kindness and love that you want to share with the family and friends, loved ones. You're gonna die. Does that mean that life is meaningless? No. Of course not. It means that life has meaning now. Because you're going to die, life must have meaning now. But we create that meaning within ourselves. You create it for yourself. Always look out for number one, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. Always look out for number one. We want to do so much for the world right now, and they're abusing that, right? News stations, big tech, mass media, and now even big pharma. You want to do so much great for the world, so much good for yourself, but you should be afraid. Be afraid of death. Be afraid of the only inevitable truth. Be afraid of your friends and family. Be afraid of going out and pursuing your dreams because you might die. They tell you to use common sense. Whew! We're going to talk about common sense when we get back from the break. You know what's common sense is that you're going to die. They're going to talk about, like, it's just common sense. You know, if it's raining, you put an umbrella. It's just common sense. If there's an invisible virus that you can't confirm with your own eyes, listen to us. It's common sense. We'll be right back after this short break. We're back on. out there. Hello out there. Hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Good morning. It is still Thursday, December 8th, 2022. Welcome back to the Best Feeling Podcast in the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast with your host, Herbie. This is Pal Go On. Good morning. It is a Truth Hurts Day because it is a Thursday, and the Truth Hurts Day today, we're talking about you're gonna die. As we were talking about before the break, I mean, are you asking yourself, why is he talking so much about truth? Why is it... Not like that. Not like, man, why is he spitting so much truth right now? Not like that. But what I mean is, like, you might... Are you asking yourself, when you're listening to right before the break, are you asking yourself, where's he going with this? Why is he talking about, like, there's no love without truth? There's no love without truth. Because right now, in the segment that we were just watching, and we'll bring up that segment again in a short second, talking about, like, masking up and stuff like that. It's you hear in that segment, they're saying, do it for yourself, but also do it for your friends and family. Like, they're trying to, like, intimidate you into saying that you're unkind if you don't follow their instructions. If you don't do what we say, you don't love your family. If you don't do what we say, you don't love your friends. If you don't do what we say, you hate yourself. You don't love yourself, and especially you don't love anybody else. You don't love the people around you. You don't do what we say. Do it. Do what we say. Says the news. Says the mainstream media. Says Big Pharma. Says Big Tech. Do what we say, or else you're a bad person. And we put a lot of value in being a good person, right? Why? Because life is short, right? You're gonna die. And we want to be socially accepted because inherently within you, you freaking beautiful godlike experience that you are, somewhere deep within you in your design, you already inherently know that it's important to be socially accepted. There's a lot of good for your life. We live necessarily in a society which means that it is composed of other people, and we want to be socially accepted. We want to be seen as good people. So we end up virtue signaling and all this kind of stuff so that we make it seem like we're good people so that people will accept us because we want to be accepted. Fine, good, dandy, yeah, fine, cool, yeah. You don't love your family, you don't love your friends unless you listen to us. Why are we talking so much about truth? Well, of course, because there's no love without truth. How are they going to tell you to love your family and friends without telling you the truth about what's going on? You know what's real love? When they're going around saying, like, you know, you should love your friends and family enough to put a mask on, like we said, to jab yourself multiple times with these experimental drugs, or else you don't love people. Unless you do what we say, unless you bend your knee to us, you don't love people. Telling you what to do so that you can love others. Telling you that what they say is common sense. Telling you that if you don't follow what they say, you don't love others. You know what love is? You know what love is? Is allowing people the freedom to make choices on their own, which means providing them with truth as much as you can. Telling them what to do, that's not love. Telling them the truth, now that's real love. Why is that real love? Because you can't be with everybody at all times. You know they don't love you because they expect you to be addicted to watching their television show, to watching their news channel. They don't love you. They don't love you because they're forcing you through fear, or they're trying to coerce you using fear to be addicted to them. You know why it's not love to be addicted to people or to force people to be addicted to you? Because you cannot be there at all times. Necessarily, you are only in control of your own body, you beautiful godlike experience. You are only in control of your own emotions, which means you're not responsible for the way people react to your truth, to the truth that you speak, or to the life that you live. You're not responsible for anyone else's emotions but your own. You're not responsible for anyone else's life except your own. And if you want to be a good father, you want to be a good mother, you still have a responsibility to yourself first so that you can be a good father and mother. Does that mean you're going to abandon kids? Of course not. Common sense tells us otherwise. We just know it deep down. There's a holistic feeling. That's a whole nother topic. That's pretty obvious. It's just goes without saying, though we've said a lot. But you are only responsible for your emotions, your own life, your own actions. Why? Because you are only in your body at all times. You are not controlling anyone else's body but your own. You are necessarily only responsible for your body, your emotions, and your actions. You're not responsible for anyone else's emotions. It is not your job to regulate other people's emotions. It is your job to do good. It is your responsibility to do good for yourself and your own life, and that will resonate to others naturally. But why is it not love why is it not love to tell people what to do? You might think that it's love's like, oh, I have this emotional feeling and I think you should follow me. You should follow what I say so that you get good in your life. You should do what I say, and it's because I love you. But doesn't that abandon the truth? Is that you are not going to be with everybody at all times. You cannot be with anybody at all times. You cannot be with anybody else at all times except yourself. And so what happens when you're gone? When they rely on you. When good is only good when you tell them what to do, or when they keep coming back to you, which is what the news stations try to do. What's loving about having people lost of your wisdom, or having people, what's good about providing something for people that they can only have when you're around? What's opposite of that is truth, in that because you're only living your own life and that no one can be beside you at all times, you provide them truth, something that they can take with them, something that they can apply to the rest of the world, something that they can constantly draw upon at all points in their life. Why is truth love? Why is truth synonymous with love? Well, when you give truth, you're providing them a way to navigate throughout life, even when you're not around. Even when you're not around. Unlike these news stations, these mainstream medias, big pharma, big tech, again, mainstream media, which rely on your views, your viewership, rely on you watching their ads to get revenue. They're going to stoke fear in you, in that you cannot live without us. You cannot live without our news, or else you will die a horrible, lonely death, is their message to you. You must keep watching us, because if you don't, a horrible death will be stricken upon you and you just missed it because you weren't watching us. You better watch us, because we love you, so that we love you. And because we love you, we want you to be addicted to us, so that without us, you are directionless. Without us as your mainstream media, without watching us, you will die worse and sooner than you ever thought. Is how they portray is their relationship to you. You must depend on us, says mainstream media. You must depend on us, or else you will die, or else you will not know that you must wear 5 masks, take 26 more vaccine shots, or you will die. You must watch us at all times so that you know when to take the next booster shot. Looks like it's going to be in around 5 minutes. If you don't watch us, you're going to die now. But you're going to die eventually. And having you addicted to watching them is not about their love for you. They do not love you. They want you to be addicted to them. And how are they going to addict you? By manipulating your fear of death, to have you addicted to watching their news, to watching to participating in their big media, or big tech and big pharma. They want you addicted to them. They don't love you. They want you addicted to them. Why? They don't love you because they want you addicted to them. That's not love. Love is recognizing that you are an individual who's going throughout life on your own. And so what you need is truth, because we trust you, is what love sounds like. We trust you to use your own faculties of reason the same way that we do. And we shall just place for you into your awareness truths that we know that you will observe and use it how you will, in the best way that you believe you can, as everybody does. Love looks a lot more like trust. Love does not look like we want you to be addicted to watching us because you are afraid of death. And if you don't watch us, this death that you're so afraid of will come knocking at your door way sooner than you ever thought. How's that? These people that do not love you are going around on international news, international forums, international channels of media and news, and telling you to go love, quote unquote, your family and friends by isolating yourself, by becoming anonymous, by covering yourself, by becoming a voiceless voice. Well, no, that's not correct. By becoming a faceless voice, rather. These mainstream conglomerates, mainstream media news, they don't love you. They want you to be addicted to them. They don't want to give you, they don't want to trust you to use your own eyes and ears and senses to live your lives. They want you to be addicted to them in order to live your life. And they claim to love you. And these people who don't, or these institutions that don't love you are telling you how to love? Wild. 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 They're not telling you that you're going to die eventually and you should make choices how you see fit because only from your vantage point can you see what's best for your life. They're telling you you should listen to us. It's common sense to listen to us. Duh, idiot. That's what they say. It's common sense to listen to us. It's common sense. Just the same way that when it's raining and you put an umbrella, of course, it's common sense that when there's an undetectable, invisible virus and your common senses don't see it, it's just common sense to listen to. It's just common sense to listen to us. It's just common sense. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's very different. Rain, you can literally feel on your skin. Guess what's a common sense? Your skin. Guess what's not a common sense? Freaking statistics in a doctor's office in a place that you can't even verify. That's just told to you by sources passed on 1, 2, 3, 4 middlemen in between you and these pieces of information. And then at the very end, they're going to tell you what to do. And if you don't do it, you're not a good person. That's not common sense. Common sense, they're trying to relate common sense of like an umbrella, they're trying to relate common sense of like feeling the rain to listening to us, the quote unquote experts. A lot of good that's done for you. A lot of good that's done for us. And you. It's like, it's just common sense to wear a mask. It's just common sense to wear 15 masks. It's just common sense, you know? This thing that, this piece of paper that's in front of your mouth that can't stop a fart, it's just common sense that it's going to stop an invisible virus. No, it's not. If it can't stop a fart, it's not gonna stop an airborne disease, an airborne virus, microscopic airborne virus. If it can't stop a fart, it can't stop an airborne virus. You know why that's common sense? Because you can sense that, and it's common throughout every human being. Common sense, like it's just common sense to listen to our statistics that we could have just fabricated. It's just common sense to listen to us, even though we've lied to you a bunch of times. It's just common sense to continue wearing these masks and continue to getting 15,000 vaccinations, even though the first and second one you get vaccinated and you still get sick. Or you wear these masks and then you still get COVID. It's just common sense to keep doing the thing that doesn't work. Duh. No. Obviously not. Obviously not. They use the word common sense, but then speak about things that are not common sense. They're like leveraging and exploiting the common word that is common sense and then slipping under that all this meaning that it doesn't even mean. It's just common sense. What is common sense, of course, is caring for others. So they're like leveraging that, right? They're leveraging, it's common sense to care about others. Here's how to care about others. What? Human beings already know, like, human beings are so amazing. You're so amazing. You're so incredibly smart. There's no one smarter than you in your life. Of course, you're the smartest because you're in control of your own life. You have to be the smartest. You have to be the best. You are, because there's nothing else that you can even hope to be. You are. You just are. And so knowing that, love and truth become synonymous, because it's like, yo, if I was able to get to the best point in my life using truth, well, so can you. Here's some truth. I know that I don't know everything that's going on in your awareness, so that's up to you to find a way to see how that truth might affect what's in your awareness right now. But here's the truth. Bam. Go do with it what you will, the same way that I would do with it what I will. Instead, we get, listen to us, do what we say. I mean, they're just not getting the message, guys. Wow. They're just not getting the message. It's a wild and crazy world we live in right now. Where, I mean, if we're gonna listen to this clip again, this time though, imagine it from like a villain standpoint, just for a moment. Of course, these people believe they're doing right for themselves. They figure they're doing something right. But if we switch the lens and view it from a standpoint of people trying to control others, it becomes so dastardly. Under the guise of it being kindness, under the guise of it being for love and the good of yourself and the community around you, under the guise of kindness, they're gonna say, listen to us. Let us control you. Let us control you. And as we know, controlling others from the outside in is not love, as you're just completely abandoning the idea that they're able to do anything for themselves. You're just like, listen to me. But you know what love is? Truth. And the truth of it is that every human being is capable with their own logic and reasoning and common sense. And so all you need to do is place into their awareness the right ideas, and with common sense, they will find their way.
A rising number of cases of the flu, RSV, and COVID-19. CBS's Carter Evans is in Los Angeles, where doctors' offices are being overwhelmed.
Lift up your tongue.
Family medicine doctor Douglas Chiriboga is warning patients of a triple viral threat.
Good. The ER is inundated with cases, and people are being hospitalized.
RSV may be peaking, but it's the worst flu
They
season.
got to stoke fear in you. They have to make you afraid. In order to control you, they have to make you afraid.
COVID cases are rising. In Los Angeles County, cases have soared 75% in just the last week, close to triggering restrictions again.
Should there be another mandate in LA County?
I think there should be, and I think eventually we're all going to have that mask mandate.
Regardless
Yeah.
of whether it's a guideline or a rule or not, would masking up be a good idea if you're in a crowded environment?
Look, it's sort of common sense. If it is pouring outdoors, bring an umbrella or galoshes. Similarly, if there's a lot of COVID transmission in your community, it certainly would make common sense to wear a mask.
So far, less than 13% of Americans have received their updated boosters, a bad diagnosis, according to Dr. Chiriboga.
Oh my
It
God.
tells me that people are not getting the message.
That's especially true for some of the most vulnerable.
They're just not getting the
65
message.
And older, only 1 in 3 seniors have received the updated shot. And with holiday gatherings fast approaching,
Don't wait. The time is now to get vaccinated. Get your influenza vaccine, get your COVID-19 booster. And it's something you're doing.
Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait. Listen to us now. Be afraid of dying. Be afraid of the inevitable. Be afraid of this.
To protect not only yourself, but your loved ones, your grandmother, your father and mother.
Yeah. Let's pull out all of the emotional stops.
Just do it for them also.
Yeah, just do it for them. Just if you're not going to listen to us for your own sake, listen to us for your friends and family. It would sure be a shame if anything happened to your friends and family. Listen to us. It's for your own good. Doesn't that just sound like the most like abusive relationship? Doesn't that just sound like the most like toxic relationship? Just listen to me. Just listen to me. Stick this needle into your arm the 15th time. The 500th time. Cover up. Cover up because I say so. If not for your friends and family, do it for your own good. It's for your own good. You're going to use this fear. You're going to twist all these words. It's just common sense, idiot. It's just common sense to listen to these statistics. Statistics made up by who knows what, studying who knows what, and using what kind of crazy method that's unscientific. Fabricating stats. Just listen to us, even though we've lied to you a bunch of times. If there's anything common sense, it's that you don't trust lie after lie after lie after lie. You reorient yourself. You re-navigate throughout life. They keep talking about this common sense as if they're using the proper definition of it. They keep talking about this common sense as if what they're talking about is common sense and not tyranny. They're talking about listen to me and then saying it's just common sense to listen to me. It's not common sense. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. Common sense Common sense is common, as in everybody has it. It's not force fed to you by someone else just because they have a coat, just because they're on TV. Surgery is not common, for example. It's not common sense. That's why you need doctors and surgeons for that. Specialized individuals who specialize in what? Uncommon sense. They keep saying it's common sense. So listen to us, doctors. Doctors and surgeons are there because what they function on is uncommon sense. That's what they specialize in. That's what they're needed for, is their uncommon sense. But they're going to tell you that their uncommon sense of all these stats and all this information that's being passed behind the scenes, all these agreements that are happening behind the scenes, all these ways that they decide that they're going to control the world, or the way that they're going to keep the world behaving that they want to. It's all behind the scenes, and yet they're going to call that common sense. It's like, whatever trickled amount of truth that comes out of all this stuff that's happening behind the scenes, just trust us that that's your common sense, okay? Common sense would have you using, again, the common senses. The senses that are common throughout mankind. Your senses around you to see what's going on, to see lies, to see that the masks don't do anything. Otherwise, people would stop getting sick. They would stop calling off of work. You would stop having to sign papers to say that you're free of COVID when you get to work. The vaccines, using common sense, you'd look at the vaccines and be like, okay, clearly we've all gotten this jab, but we still keep getting the disease. The vaccine is supposed to prevent, or the vaccine gives you a trace amount of this virus so that your body can create all the necessary antibodies to deal with this virus. And then once you have those antibodies, they're already matched to that shape, so that disease should not affect you anymore. They're going to say, oh, the viruses mutate. Viruses mutate. That's what they do. That's the nature of a virus. So in the same way that they're going to try to instill fear in you by saying that you're going to die. That's the nature of life. You're going to die. They're going to instill fear in you by saying like, oh, this virus mutates. That's the nature of viruses. They mutate, fool. That's the point. That's why you need the vaccine, so that you can have antibodies that can deal with it. But if the vaccines don't work, common sense doesn't tell you. Common sense, using your eyes, ears, and seeing what's happening around you right where you are, common sense would tell you that they're lying. Common sense would tell you that it does not work. Or at least what they're trying to feed you does not work. Common sense would say that all these measures that they're trying to do again doesn't work. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Wait. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. As in, fool us twice, shame on us if we keep listening to you. Common sense would say that you guys are full of it. Common sense. The rain's pouring down. It's just common sense to pull out an umbrella. True, because you can feel the rain using a common sense, a sense that is common in every person, in every human being, because they're human beings. Common sense would have you saying that, like, well, if you guys, common sense would have you saying that the rain is falling, okay, so put an umbrella. And then common sense, I mean, it would just make common sense that if you see all these statistics and all these scary images that we show that were planned by some people behind a screen, common sense would say that you have to listen to them. It's not the same thing at all. You have to jump through so many hoops and ladders to get to that point. You have to believe and trust all these like layers of lies to even get to the point of what they're saying is common sense. Whereas actual common sense is revealed to you like revelation. It's like it's raining. You feel it in your whole being. You already understand what to do. There's already a natural inclination to find shelter. Even animals, I mean, as we are, right? Like, it's a natural inclination to find shelter. It's a natural inclination. If we did see, you know, what would be common sense? If we were actually experiencing all of these things that they're talking about. Like all these mass deaths due to COVID, all these mass hospitalizations due to COVID. But you know what we found instead? We found people fabricating numbers in hospitals. We found fabricated numbers like, oh, someone died in a car accident. Oh, but they had COVID at the time, so that's a COVID death. Why would you need to fabricate and lie if you actually love people and you actually wanted the truth to be spread out? If the truth of this thing was actually as dastardly as they say, why would they need to fabricate those numbers to make unrelated to COVID deaths suddenly be labeled as COVID deaths? Why would they have to do that? Because they're trying to strike fear in us, obviously. They're not trying to actually look out for what's the common good. They're not actually trying to appeal to your common senses. They're trying to create this fear in us. They're trying to create this fear in you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be lying to do so. There's no love without truth. There's no love without truth. There's no love without truth. How can they claim to be looking out for your best interest when they're not giving you the truth? Oh, well, we believe that COVID is this dangerous thing. Just give us the truth. Oh, well, we're going to fabricate these numbers and we're going to make it seem like it's way more deep than it actually is because we know deep down somewhere, like, we believe that this COVID thing is like, it's so bad. So we're going to protect you by protecting you from the truth. We're going to protect you from being able to make we're going to protect you from being able to make decisions for the way you see best in your life. We're going to protect you from that ability to do that for yourself because we want you dependent on us. We're going to protect you from the truth. Doesn't that sound like the most toxic relationship you've ever heard of? Doesn't that sound like your standard toxic boyfriend-girlfriend relationship and like an abusive toxic relationship? I'm going to protect you from the truth because you can't handle it. You can't handle making decisions for yourself. You can't handle being a good person on your own accord, on your own volition. You can't handle continuing to be a good person by knowing the truth. So we're going to protect you from the truth. We're going to protect you from yourself. You got to rely on us. But guess what? You're going to die. They can't control you without that fear, without stoking that crazy fear in you. Oh my God, it's crazy. You're going to die. It doesn't mean it's the most dramatic thing in the world. It doesn't mean it's the most tragic thing in the world. It just is. It's just true. So now you go and balance, and you go and balance your life the way that you see fit. You go and value what you believe is worth valuing because life is short. You go and balance this based on the truth, not based on fabrications, lies, and curtains. That's going to be it for us today, guys. They can't control you without fear. You're going to die and you say, yeah, I know. That's why I got to go see my family. You're going to die? I know. That's why I'm going to use my common sense to see that this is not happening in the way that you are describing because I can see it with my own eyes. I can feel it with my own heart. I can hear it. I can see it in the workplace. I can see it at school. That it's not happening the way that you were describing it, other than the little decorations that you want to put on a shallow level. We'll see you right here tomorrow on the Best Feeling Podcast, the Best Feeling Network, and especially your only no-nonsense podcast with your host, Herbie. This is Pal Thank you. Don't be afraid to like. Let us know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your feedback, whether you agree, whether you are vehemently opposed to what I'm saying. Let me know. I'm curious. Love for all, non-judgment for all. Truth for all. Do with it what you will. We'll see you tomorrow on a Freedom Friday. Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate you. Big love. Remember to feel it for any of your shins.